Okay, let's see. Does this work? Is this working? It says it's showing up. Yay. Oh, can you hear me now? I hope it works. Yay! Yay! This is so exciting. Okay, cool, awesome. Yay, now we can get started. And Samantha, you're the only one on right now, so I'm really gonna talk to you. And I really wish there was some way I could like pop you in so that I could we could just do this together. But I don't know if there's a way to do that with on air. But so maybe I'll, why don't we get started? I am just gonna talk quickly about, let's see, I'm gonna talk quickly about a couple things. I was going to do a PowerPoint, but then I was like, I'd much rather do this like workshop creation cheat sheet. So if you want to click that and open it, it's a PDF. You can either print it, or if you have a journal nearby, that's a really great way to kind of get started too. Because I think a lot of times when people want to create workshops, they take webinars, or they like listen, or they like kind of see how other people do them, but they don't actually like write it down. So I'd really love to do some actionable stuff. Yay! Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm not going to flip my screen just yet, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today. And feel free, if you have questions while we're going through this, to pop them in the chat. I love getting to hear the little ding, so then I know to check over to see what you have questions about. Cool, awesome. So let's get started. Actually, do you have any idea of what kind of workshop you want to do, or event, or anything like that? This is mostly focused on learning events like workshops and teaching stuff. But do you have any idea of kind of what you want to teach? Smiley face, yay. Go ahead and pop it in the chat if you have kind of any sort of idea of what you're thinking about creating. If not, we can just go through the workbook too. No, okay. A series of workshops about what? Let me open this really quick. Yeah, okay. All right, I'm gonna, yay. Biz related, confidence photography, how it helps your brand. Branding, yay. Those are really important things. Okay, good, this is exciting. Okay, cool. So now we can maybe have some things to brainstorm and talk about. Health, wellness, like self-care. Also a really good topic. And each one will be different. Is this for a specific audience? We'll talk about that in the workshop a little bit as well, in this kind of webinar workshop. Actually, why don't we just get started? Feel free to type that in and I'll look it up. But okay, cool. So I'm so glad you're here. Each one will be different. Yeah, so just while I'm going through this part, why don't you just tell me kind of who your audience is, and if not, local small business entrepreneurs. Perfect. Okay, great, cool. So this is something that we will talk about, and we can brainstorm about on the call, which is awesome. Mostly mompreneurs. Oh, really good. Cool. Awesome. So for those of you watching the replay, I wanted to just give a quick introduction about what we'll be talking about today. And then also, if you have any questions, Samantha, obviously, who's on the call live, feel free to pop them in the chat. But otherwise, if you're watching the replay, feel free to email me. My email is lauren@laurencasilli.com, and you've probably been getting emails from me anyway. So, and you'll get an email from me with this replay. So you'll have my email, but feel free to pop any questions to me via email, things I didn't cover. So, let's get started. The things that we're going to cover today, and I didn't make slides on this. I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys, but I did make a little agenda. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to cover what a live event is, or what a workshop is. Because a lot of times when I speak about live events, people are always, there's so many different kinds, right? There's networking events, there's workshops, there's conferences, there's retreats. And so this one's really focused on learning events and teaching. And those are just a different kind of, they're a different kind of structure. And then B, they're a different kind of marketing tactics, or marketing and sales. So there has to be a very specific kind of pre-build up to the workshop. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to pick a topic. That's a really important piece for any sort of learning, because the topic has to be relevant enough and specific enough to get people to actually come. I think a lot of times, especially I kind of feel this in kind of the coach or guru life coach kind of sphere, the topics are very vague, and that doesn't, especially nowadays, that doesn't really incite people to drive their car and show up to a live event. So we're going to talk about how to pick a topic. We're going to talk about how to create it and outline it, how to create a really strong outline. We're going to talk some marketing tactics, not a ton, but I'm happy to answer questions about that. But we will talk, and I'm actually just going to tell you how I market all of my events and sell them. And then we're going to talk about how to reassess what you taught briefly. We're not going to go super deep into that, but we're going to just kind of talk about some things that need reassessing. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to work. Oh, actually, I wanted to introduce myself mostly for the people on the replay, but I'm Lauren Caselli, and I'm an event planner, and I've been doing this for about 10 years, which is a little bit crazy, but most of my events, I've done a lot of social events, but most of the events that I've done have been strategic marketing events. And I really love that all of the creative entrepreneurs kind of in the online sphere are starting to branch out into more local stuff. I think that's really, really awesome, because it really develops a super deep community, especially when you get to see people face to face. They convert more for your business. You get more clients out of kind of workshops and retreats and conferences and things like that than you would, let's say, via email marketing. But you also get immediate live feedback. Is another reason I love events. You see people in a room, and if they're looking confused, you can say, okay, how can we change this? And so you get like really great live feedback from your audience. So I really love how people are starting to create more live events and create space in-person communities. I think that's really, really awesome. But I also think that there is a market for people to be doing them a lot better and a lot more efficiently, and to use them to grow their business. I see a lot of people doing big time events, but they're not really growing their business. They're kind of like, hey, I'm going to do a workshop. And then they don't really kind of think about how it can be really, really beneficial and great for their business to get clients or to sell products if you're a product salesperson. So I like to talk about how workshops, live events, networking, happy hours, things like that can actually like help you build your business. And they're a marketing tool and a marketing tactic like any other. Cool. So the next topic we're going to talk about is what the heck is a live event? And there are two kinds, and this applies to workshops as well. But there are two kinds of live events. There are lead generating events. Those are generally free events or low cost events, because the point of that event is to get people in the room with you so that you can build a relationship and deepen a relationship, and then hopefully they'll turn into clients, which I think all events should be like that, but there's kind of a time and a place. But workshops definitely, especially kind of lower cost workshops, can be a way to build trust within your community and help people get over that hurdle to end up hiring you, which I think is awesome. And then there's the other type of event are money-making events that are specifically priced at a really robust price point. And then they're kind of less about the marketing or upselling, quote unquote. And those are usually at the top of your sales funnel. And we're not going to talk about this a ton today because we're going to mostly work on lead generating events. But those are usually like high-end conferences that have a very pricey price point. Usually those ones can sometimes be like pitch fest, but usually they're learning opportunities so that people can maybe not, they're not supposed to be like these big pitch fests, usually like kind of lower price things, lower priced conferences or retreats. Retreats are another one where usually it's a very high price point, but there's no kind of like sales pitch throughout the week. Sometimes there is, but usually there's not. Anyway, okay. So those are the two kinds. We're going to talk about lead generating workshops, which is today. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's what I wanted to get into. So I'm going to flip my screen and I'm going to actually just go through, we're going to go through this thing, this, what is it called? Workbook that I've created. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'm going to flip my screen over if I can remember how to do this. Screen share. Oh, and if you just joined, if you're watching right now and you didn't download the sheet, click on the link to do that. Desktop. Ooh, this one. Ooh. I don't know if this is working. Cool. Can you guys see that? Or is it not working? This is always a little confusing to me. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, yay, that's exciting. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna start with my first workshop, and I want you guys to do a little bit of brainstorming today and writing stuff down, and then if you have questions, I would really love for you to ask questions because that's the point of all of this, right? We're going through this worksheet so that you can actually get started to create your first workshop. So a little bit of backstory about this. This is kind of an amalgamation of how I created my first workshop. So my first workshop, or I guess my first live event, was the Boss Lady Bash. It was last year in April. And when I sat down to create a live event, I basically like went through these steps, a little bit less formal, but these are pretty much the exact steps I took when I was kind of like, okay, how do I create something that people might actually want to come to? And if you don't know about the Boss Lady Bash, I think most everyone does who's on the call. But if you don't know about it, it's a highly facilitated networking event. And basically what happened was it was an event that I really wanted someone else to create, and then nobody was creating it. So I was like, well, I guess I better just do it. And we'll talk about that on slide 3 or 4, page 4 of this workbook. Okay. So page 1, your expertise. Okay, so what do you know a lot about? And I'd love if you guys have printed this out, or if you, hopefully you've printed it out. If you want to just use your journal, you can do that too. So I would love for you guys to take maybe like 4 or 5 minutes to just kind of write down what are some things you're really, really good at in the space below. And I'll type some of the things that I am really good at. So one of the things that I'm really good at, and that started, I guess, with the Boss Lady Bash last year, is I'm really good at connecting people. When I started my business, I was actually sort of awful at creating my own client opportunities. But what I would do is I would have coffee with people, and they would tell me their struggle, and I would be like, oh, you need to meet so-and-so. And there were so many times where I created opportunities for other business owners that it started paying me back in terms of like, having a big community, and people were like, oh, Lauren referred me to you. And so then they wanted to give back to me. It kind of created this culture of giving, which there's a lot of science, like psychological science around that culture of giving. But anyway, so I'm really good at connecting people. I'm going to move this down a little bit. I'm really, really good at I'm really good at teaching people what is terrible on websites and what they should be doing instead. Oops. I'm really good at identifying when people are uncomfortable in business. So if it feels like they want to grow, but they don't know how, I'm really good at kind of like teasing it out of them. I'm really good at being social. Okay, so these are some things I'm good at. The things that I know a lot about, copywriting and writing good sales pages. That was one of the biggest compliments I got when I put up my Boss Lady workshop / networking event, was that people were like, wow, you really wrote you just did such a great job on the writing, that I was really, really interested in coming to the event, even though no one had ever come before. I know a lot about events and how to plan them and how to market them to a smallish local community. Which I think that's really all you need, but cool. So I hope you're writing that down. If you have questions about this part, just go ahead and you can pop it in the chat and say, but I don't know what I'm good at. Maybe take like another 30 seconds to do that. I'm also really good at hosting. That's another thing that I'm really good at. Okay, so these are the things that you're really, really good at. And maybe it's you're really, really good at for you, Samantha. Maybe it's you're really, really good at knowing how to take a break and take an hour, half an hour, 20 minutes each day to do some self-care, even though you're a mom, even though you are stretched thin. You are really, really good at listening to people. That might be another thing. You're really, really good at taking information and synthesizing it into really teachable things and then putting it out into the internet. Maybe that's something you're good at. Maybe you're really good at blogging. Maybe you're really good at, I don't know, creating videos. I don't know. Cool. So these are just some things. You can go back and kind of brainstorm some of the other things, but this is going to be a really big key, because if you try to teach something that you don't really know about, but you kind of like learned or read in a book, or maybe, I don't know, saw someone else do, and then you try to teach it, it's not going to go well. It's going to be really challenging. Cool. All right. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide is your community. So what do your friends tell you that you're good at? So examples of this are, what are some tasks you help them with? What are the reasons they text you? If you have a friend that's like, hey, can you come over and teach me how to do this or whatever? Can you come over and help me with my kids? Can you come over and, well, maybe not so much. I feel like everybody asks me to help me with their kids and I'm not that great at it, but, what are some things that your friends or your community or your clients come to you to ask you for help with? So for me, I get a lot of requests for coffee dates because people want to know about starting a business. I get a lot of requests about how, I don't like this box, this typing box, sorry. How do I the community? Another thing is websites. How do I create a good website? Let's see, what else do my friend, I'm trying to think. Can I bounce an idea off you? That's another one I get a lot. And then I get a lot of social requests, which makes me assume that I am available. I say yes. And people know they can count on me to be available, which is helpful because I don't have a family. And that's probably why people know that they can count on me, because I'm usually not caring for other people. But so that's kind of what my community asks me for. And then a couple things that they don't ask me for that again, is kind of part of this is, do you know someone that can help me? A lot of times people will come to me for job, do you know anyone that has a job openings, etc., things for sale. Okay, so these are the things that people text me to ask about or call me up or send me emails about. Okay, so these are basically your expertise and your community. The overlap between those two things are going to be some popular topics for your workshop. So going on to page 4. So what's missing? What do you wish you had in your community where you live? And what are other people, oh, I didn't make that. That was not a good sentence. What are other people doing? Who are other people that are doing sort of similar things? Okay. So what do you wish you had in your community where you live? So what is missing in kind of the overall piece of all of this? So your expertise versus your community. So people are asking you, how do I start a business? How do I create community? How do I create a good website? Can I bounce an idea off you? and you're really good at connecting people, teaching people about their websites. So obviously, things that are missing are, I probably should have given you a little like what's missing. Anyway, so things that people that I could teach about are how to, whoops, let me move this down a little bit. How to create a community around your business. People ask me that all the time, and that's something I'm good at. How to be a connector, because people think I'm really good at that, and I do that all the time. So I could teach people how to do that. How to create a great website. And for me, another thing that I did this year is I hosted a goal setting workshop. That was my first like actual workshop. Because people, I didn't say this in expertise and community, people would always ask me how do you create good goals? So I said that was kind of one of the things that was missing. How do you create good goals? So these aren't necessarily things that are missing in my community, but between my expertise and my community, those were the things that I kind of was like, okay, here are some topics that we can talk about. And then what I wish I had in my community was a goal setting workshop. And there wasn't one, or there wasn't one that I knew about. So why don't you go ahead and brainstorm a couple things that you think are missing in your community, things that you would really love to have, but there aren't. So maybe we'll take like 1 minute to do that, if you haven't already. And these can be anything. This could be like, if you're a product seller, this could be something like, I wish there was a way that I could make my own macrame plant holder. Or I wish there was a way I could teach people how to do that, because I want to sell them on my website, but I'd also love to teach people how to do them. And then maybe if I maybe I make plants, maybe I made plants, maybe I'm like a botanist, or maybe I kind of create succulent gardens. I could do an event, a workshop around how to create a plant holder, and then upsell it to like, and also I create these plants. So now you've made a plant holder, you have that to take home with you, and you can buy a plant to put in it. So it's kind of like thinking about your business and what you're doing and how you can create something that maybe doesn't exist, or something that's kind of related to your expertise. Or how to create your own succulent garden. That might be something too. And then maybe you could upsell, I don't know, another workshop or something like that. So brainstorm some things that you wish you had in your community and how you can fill those gaps in things that are missing. And then the next part is, who are other people that are doing similar things? So for me, a lot of the things that I wanted to do, like I did this goal setting workshop in January, and I knew that there were some coaches that were doing similar goal setting workshops, but when I looked at their websites, it was like in a different way. It just was kind of more, I don't know, it just didn't really speak to me. So one of the big pieces about creating a workshop or creating any sort of content is looking around at other people who are doing similar things and seeing their style and their take on it, and seeing how you can kind of like fit in to that niche, or kind of go around their niche. Maybe they're, I don't know, here, I'm gonna talk about this. I'm gonna type down here. So who are other people that are doing sort of similar things? For me, it's some coaches. There's some marketing experts that do similar things. So when I did my networking event, the Bozeman, which is where I'm from, Bozeman Chamber of Commerce was doing networking events. There's a small business association that does networking events. And I think of who else. There's a nonprofit that does networking events. Anyway, so those are some things. These are some people that were doing some sort of similar things. And the next thing I would challenge you to do is, what are they doing? These people who are doing these similar things, what are they doing that you don't want to do? And what is their style that's not like you? So how can you be different? In the kind of financial world, it's called the UVP, your unique value proposition. So how are you unique? What's the unique value that you could create? And so for me, I live in a small town that was very dominated by these kind of three bottom things: the Chamber of Commerce, the Small Business Association, and a nonprofit association. So those things are pretty institutional. And for me, I wanted something creative. I wanted something fun. I wanted something young. I wanted something where I could wear my jeans and my flannel shirt and my hat and not feel like I had to like get dressed up in a suit. So this was kind of, for me, what I really, really craved and what was missing in kind of all of, who are all these people that are doing similar things. Those people were not doing fun, young, creative, artsy things. They were doing professional things that made me feel uncomfortable. So my unique value proposition was more the creative, young, fun, targeting a different audience. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about that? If you don't, that's okay. We can move on. Oh, hold on 1 second. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh, cool. Okay. Awesome. All right, let's move on. Oh, here's my ultimate workshop formula. So this is kind of how you're going to lay out your day. And I think when I started creating content for so I really like to create all of my content, or at least an outline of my content before I write my sales page to sell an event, because that way I know what I'm actually going to be teaching people. So I want you guys to do this piece of it, and you can write some notes in there if you want. So let's say, for example, oh wait. Yeah, okay. So we're going to brainstorm. Actually, we can brainstorm this on the next page, but I just wanted to show you kind of how I outline my content. So usually when people arrive, I give so let's say I usually, for workshops, if you're doing, depends how much content you have. So I'm going to actually kind of skip ahead to one page to just show you this piece. So we're going to brainstorm around a workshop topic that we can pick, and then 4 modules of learning. I don't recommend you have all 4 unless you want to do a full day to 2-day workshop. Usually people can only go through 1 to 2 in like an hour span of time. And so if you think about how many ways to teach something, like say, for example, I'll take the example of my goal setting workshop. So the modules, when I was like, okay, I want to create a workshop around goal setting. It's January. People need to do this in their business. So I'm going to teach people how to do a goal setting workshop. My modules of learning were, let's look at the year. Let's look at 2015. So it was past, present, what's going on right now in my business, where am I, what are my feelings, what's kind of going on for this year, and then future. So, and I'll tell you one mistake I made about this. So those are 3 modules. My topic was goal setting. The 3 modules were past, analyze the past, check in with self, and plan for the future. I would say at the very least, each of those modules should take an hour between workshop, teaching, and working. And I set the time for 3 hours. It was like a 5 to 8 o'clock workshop. And that was way too much content for 3 hours. People need breaks. People need time to decompress. They need time to chat. They need time to work together. So let's say each of your modules is an hour and a half of both teaching, them working, and then them kind of like communing with each other. So if you have 4 modules of learning, you probably need a full day. If you have 2 modules of learning, that is I would say that's a half day workshop, like between, breakfast and lunch, or lunch and dinner, or kind of like a very late evening thing. If you have 1 piece of learning, I would say that's kind of like a 2-hour event, maybe, if you have kind of 1 topic that you want to teach someone. Okay, cool. We're going to go back to the ultimate workshop formula. I just wanted to kind of get that in there so that we could talk about how to create it. So, okay. So this is how you're going to formulate your workshop. And I actually probably should have given you times for this, but I'll just verbally say them to you. So I did my goal setting workshop 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night. So I did an icebreaker. So I let people show up. So whenever you say 5 o'clock, people aren't going to show up till 5:15, 5:20, 5:30. So build in some time for that. I would say 15 minutes. If you live in a big city or a larger town, maybe half an hour, just because, parking and traffic and public transportation and all that kind of stuff. I live in a small town where people are generally pretty punctual to things like this. So I would say between 10 and 20 minutes was enough for me to kind of give them leeway. So a good example of an icebreaker, especially if you're working with business owners or people who are kind of making some sort of change in their life, I would say just have everyone go around and introduce themselves and give them one prompt. So for me, I said, please go around and for goal setting, I was like, please go around, introduce yourself, tell us about one sentence about your business, and then tell us why you want to set some goals this year, why you want to do formal goal setting. That, and I work with women primarily. Oh my goodness, that took almost 45 minutes because women love to talk. So just be aware of that. People might be extremely chatty, and you don't want to kind of squelch that, but it's your job as a facilitator to really kind of keep things moving along, because there's nothing worse. Honestly, this is like a hot tip. There's nothing worse than going to a workshop that runs over and that people are like, I gotta go. And then, you're totally losing the momentum. So anyway, so your check-in and icebreaker can be something around what you're about to cover. Let's say you're doing an art, let's say you're teaching how to create we're going to go back to my macrame plant holder. Let's say it's like how to create a macrame plant holder. I would say go around and give everyone 1 minute to just introduce themselves and their art background. That's super simple. And then really nice part about that is it creates a community within your workshop, and it makes people feel a little bit more comfortable doing the work with you if they feel like they get to know you. Okay, next. Introduction of who you are and why you're qualified. This is so important, and so many people do not do this. And I almost didn't do this at the beginning of this webinar. You need to tell people who you are. They might not know. They might have come with a friend. They might have saw you on a flyer. They might have no idea who you are. So if you do your icebreaker and then you jump into your content, bad move. Tell them about who you are and why you're qualified. This is another piece that creates trust. It doesn't, I would say don't do a big sales pitch right away, but say hi, my name is Lauren. I've been doing live workshops and events for other people for 10 years, and I've been doing my own for about a year. And this is all the stuff that I've learned, and this is why I'm qualified. I've sold out five of these events. I've not sold out some of them, so I know things not to do. So just give an overview of yourself and why you're qualified. And please don't forget to do that. Cool. Okay. So then what you're going to do is you're going to go into the storytelling piece, why you created this workshop, why you wanted to bring this to people. And sometimes if that's kind of a product creation workshop, whether it's an art party or something like that, that can be an introduction of, I created this because there's not enough art and there's not enough fun. Or maybe people approach art in a way that's so serious and they feel like they can't be artists. So this is a way that I want my community to feel, or this community here to feel like art can be fun and playful, and it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're doing some sort of health coaching, just tell them that your why. We just brainstormed all of the reasons why your community needs this workshop. So tell them why, and that what that does is it reinforces the mission, and it makes people feel like, okay, I'm here for the right reason. Or maybe it's oh, I'm not here for the right reason. This is not for me. So the next piece is you give them a quick overview of what you're going to cover in the workshop. So this is outlining your modules. So for me, it was we're going to talk about the past. In my goal setting workshop, we're going to talk about the past, we're going to talk about the present, and then we're going to talk about the future, and then brief introductions into those things. And then what you do is you start with your first module, learning module number 1. Sorry, I totally was reading that and I was oh, that makes sense. Okay, anyway. So learning module number 1 at 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, if it's an all-day workshop, you'll have 4. If it's a few hours, I would say 1 to 2 at most. And then what you want to do is you want to build in breaks in between each module. A really good rule of thumb is that people can only sit still for 1 hour at the most, maybe an hour and a half if they're doing kind of group work. But people cannot sit for much longer than that. So keep that in mind when you're teaching a workshop. People cannot sit down. And I think that's the one thing between learning webinars and live events that people don't take into account is they literally pack their event full of content when in reality people need breaks. They need to walk, they need to go to the bathroom, they need to have a snack, they need to have a drink. So the biggest mistake that I always make is pack it full of content, and then people are kind of restless. And so you don't want to lose that momentum because people are restless. So I would say between 10 and 15-minute breaks between each module. So you'll run through your modules 1, 2, 3, 4, and then at the very end, either of each module or of the whole day, and maybe both, do a recap / an FAQ session, questions or whatever, because it's really important that you kind of solidify the information. Make sure people don't have questions. If people are looking confused, you can say, hey, does anyone have questions? But make sure you're always getting feedback, because that's the point of live workshops, right? That's so much different than a webinar, or so much different than an ebook, is you don't get live feedback. People might like go through it and be like, oh, this kind of sucked, and then they move on with their life. With a live workshop, you get to see how people are A, interacting with your content, or B, struggling with your content. And it's like immediate feedback. So make sure that you're constantly asking for feedback throughout the process, because it's a really, really great way to kind of shift gears and make things better. Cool. Okay. Are there questions about that? See, I'm just going to take my own advice right here. Do you guys have questions so far? I'm kind of like talking and talking and talking. If not, that's cool. We can move on and go into the marketing and selling piece, because I know we got started late. And so I don't want to like take anyone's time, because I know you guys are busy. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, so let's move on. So we're a workshop topic. I'm going to give you guys maybe 2 minutes, 1 minute to pick a workshop topic and write down the 4 modules of learning. It doesn't have to be 4, it could be 1. It literally could be like, my workshop topic is how to create a nutrition plan. And your module of learning is going to be, well, for a nutrition plan, I would say you want to have people assess where they are. Ooh, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on 1 second. I don't want to sneeze in anyone's ear. Now see, because I said that I don't have to. Anyway, so I guess for your workshop topic, if it's how to create a nutrition plan, or how to, if you're a busy mom, Samantha, this one's for you. You're a busy mom who wants to eat healthier but don't know how. I would say it could be how to create a, weekly nutrition plan with ease, because moms always look for things that are easy or things that don't take up too much time, right? You know the market better than I do, but you want things to be easy. And so the modules of learning probably would be like, where are you right now? What are you frustrated with? So kind of an assessment of like the current, and talking about habits that they currently have, habits that they want to break, foods that they love to eat, like identifying kind of where they are in their journey, and then kind of maybe future where they want to be, and then maybe action planning. Those are kind of 3 modules, but there's a way to kind of combine them all. So anyway, so if you want to write down your 4 modules, 1, 2, 3, 4 modules of learning, I think that that's a really great idea. And you can do it now. You can do it later. You can do it while I'm talking about the next piece. So we're going to move into marketing, yay, which is like always the bane of everyone's existence, including my own. How do we market events? How do we sell live events? How do we create an atmosphere of excitement around something? So the first piece of creating a content is a really good place to start. And like I said, selling a workshop is as important as creating the content. So let's brainstorm how your client feels. Write down some frustrations that they have that would make them want to come listen to you. And again, when I created the Boss Lady Bash, my frustrations, I might take you guys over to, to my website. Hold on 1 second. When I created the Boss Lady Bash, I knew that people were really, or I was struggling personally with making really good connections with people who are creative in my community. And so some of the frustrations that I wrote down were, I hate the word networking event, because every time someone says, let's go to a networking event, I'm automatically like, oh, what does that even mean? Do I have to dress up? Do I have to wear heels? Do I have to put makeup on? Like, what do I have to do? And I already don't want to go. Another thing that I hate at networking events is when you walk into the room, there's always this like weird, like halo of nobody in the kind of doorway. People are always like pushed as far away from the door as they can possibly be. And then you walk in and you feel like people are like turning to stare at you the minute you walk in. That is a feeling that I hate so much. And then again, I hate having to put on a suit to talk to people when I wear jeans all day long. You know, I think that's just it's really sucky, because it's not who I am. So write down a couple of things that you personally potentially feel frustrated with in your kind of creation of this workshop, and then also things that your clients might feel frustrated with. So again, if it's like, how do I eat healthy? You know, what are some things as a mom that I feel is like, I don't have enough time to create healthy meals, because things that are healthy don't exist quickly, so identify some of the frustrations that people have and why they would take time out of their day and spend their money to listen to you, because they really, really need solutions to said problems. So I feel like I should do this with you guys. I'm going to try and do it quickly. Okay, cool. So for me, let's say, okay, so for me, whoops, I want to change this font. It's so big, 20. So for me, it was, I hate networking events / the word networking. I mean, like I hate the words networking event because it always incites so much fear. I hate when people are looking at me when I walk into a room with people I don't know. That is scary. The goal setting workshop, if we're using that as an example. So for goal setting workshop, I don't have time to sit down and write my goals out. Seriously, I personally didn't. I created the goal setting workshop because I was like, I don't have time to sit down and go through all of this work unless somebody is making me sit down. I don't know what good goals are and how to create them. That was something I was like, oh, I don't even know how to create them. December is a hard time of year. And it's hard to create goals when other stuff's going on. Like for me, it was, I wanted to ski, eat Christmas cookies, spend time with family, whatever. I'm just going to put etc. I wanted to ski and do other things. So these are the frustrations that I had around something I wanted to do, but didn't know how to do or get them done. So hopefully you guys have written down some frustrations. And now we're going to do a quick overview about how to write a really good sales page formula. So create an amazing title. I'm gonna see if I can flip my page over to the Boss Lady Bash, or actually maybe I'll do goal setting workshop. Let's do goal setting workshop. Bear with me for 1 second. If you're still writing down some frustrations, that might be a good place to start. Ooh. Okay, you can go. I'll send you the replay, so don't feel bad if you have to leave. That's the point of this. I think there's going to be a replay. I always forget, but I think Google Hangouts on Air just automatically records. And if they don't, I'll get to do it all over again tomorrow. So that would be kind of a fun thing to do. Cool. All right, so I'm going to switch my screen over. Actually, let's do a quick sales page formula. I'm going to go like really super quickly through this, and then I'm going to flip over and show you how I did it for my event. So create an amazing title. Mine was goal setting workshop. And then I had which is like not that amazing of a title, but the tagline was like, did you forget to set really great goals? Yeah, me too. So it was kind of more of this like cheeky play on, this is exactly what it is, and this is why it's been created. So in the sales page, you're going to create an amazing title. You're going to identify the frustrations, all those frustrations we just wrote down. You're going to tell them you identify with that. You feel that way too, because it creates trust when we kind of bond over things that we feel similarly. You're going to tell them how you're going to change it, not only for you, but also for them. You're going to introduce your workshop or event. You're going to tell them who it's for. You're going to tell them what they can expect. You're going to tell them who else will be there, because that's the number two things that people go to an event for is the speaker / content and the network. So if you're saying like the other people who are going to be there are moms and someone's not a mom, they're going to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to go because I don't need a mom community. Or maybe they will go because they want to be a mom. But just giving them an idea of who's going to be there is really important. And then this last one, tell them to buy, all caps, I'm not joking, because I see so many sales pages for events, and then it just doesn't say how to get a ticket, or there's like one link buried at the very top or at the very bottom, and people like don't actually know how to buy. So, all right, I'm going to switch my screen over to here, this one. So give me 1 second to figure out how to do this, because it's always a little bit more challenging than I want it to be. Oh, hi, I'm back. All right, let me try and reshare my screen so that I can go through my sales page with you guys. Oh, let's do that one. Cool. So you can kind of see my this is like total entrepreneur problems, right? It's like I have 1,000 like things open at the top. If you're wondering how I create my graphics, it's here, PicMonkey. I use PicMonkey almost exclusively. Okay, so I opened up to the goal setting workshop. So for me and some just really good marketing tactics, it's really super important to have like I always do an image. You don't have to, but I really highly, like 90% recommend it, because if people only get 1 second on the website, like you need to tell them exactly what it is before the fold. So this one, this one's a little bit below the fold, but it's enough where I feel comfortable to say, okay, it's a goal setting workshop. Again, forgot to plan out 2016 before you took off for the holidays. Yeah, me too. Date, whatnot. And then kind of, we'll go into sales page formula. So again, as much information as you can right away, because people literally, like when I look at my analytics, which is actually open, but when I look at my analytics, it's always like people are on my website for 10 seconds. It's like the majority of people are on my website for 10 seconds. And so it's like, if I can't capture them in 10 seconds, I have no right to like, do anything else. So think about that. People's attention span are between 3 and 5 seconds, I think is the really, really big average. So just think like, what is the most important information that people need to do to find out? And it's like topic, a sort of idea, forgot to plan out 2016, and then like the date, and that's it. And this really fun image, which even though this is a winter event, everyone's wearing summer clothes, but hopefully nobody notices. Yeah, okay. So start. So my title, 2016 Goal Setting Workshop. You know exactly what this is going to be about, how to set goals. Like there's no confusion. I think a lot of times when people pick a title, they do things like create your best life ever. And it's like, what does that mean? Like maybe my best life looks different from your best life. So just try to be as specific as you possibly can. The same thing with the Boss Lady Bash. Here, I'm going to open up another window so you guys can see this. Let me move this over so that they're back next to each other. So again, Boss Lady Bash, because you can't do business alone. So it's kind of like, okay, I don't really know what that means, but Boss Lady, I'm assuming it's entrepreneurial. Bash, maybe some sort of party. You can't do business alone. It used to be something, I think the title was something else, but I changed it to this, but it's kind of like an intrigue into like, oh, okay, a networking event for creative entrepreneurs, which I actually down here, I put an event for creative female entrepreneurs whose businesses were born out of the love for design, writing, connecting, nutrition, wellness, insert dream business or side hustle here. So that's kind of like the more in-depth piece that I also used to, when I did this and put flyers up for it, it was actually on this main image. It was like right here. So it's not anymore, but it was. Whoops, sorry. There we go. We'll go back to Goal Setting Workshop. Okay, so great title. The frustrations. Here are my frustrations. You promised, and notice that I use the word you so that when people are reading it, they kind of identify with themselves rather than something vague like people promise themselves that they'll set really good goals for their businesses. People tell themselves that they'll sit in front of it. Like, so let's not make it people, let's make it you. Like, let's imagine that somebody or a potential client is reading this. So you promised yourself that you set really good goals for the business this year. If you're doing a wellness workshop, you promised yourself that you'd start eating right this year. You promised yourself that, what are my other frustrations? I can't remember. You promised yourself, here's the thing, like you dreamed about putting it up on Instagram. You told yourself that you'd sit in front of the fire. Here's like, we're creating this image of like what we told ourselves that we were going to do. And then what did I not do? I skied. I finished all my Christmas shopping. I snuggled my babies. Like, here are all the things that took priority over setting my goals. So I identified with them, like, here's all the things that I do. And then I identified, good for you, sister. This is why we do this, isn't it? And so for me, it was like, oh yeah, I did that too. Like, no shame in that. I feel the same way. This isn't you. You're not alone here. So another way you can do it is like, you're not alone. I feel the same way. And I do that on the Boss Lady Bash page here. So here, I feel you, sis. So I'm changing that. Like, you want to identify with them so they know that they're not alone. So then you talk about, here's how I'm changing this. So now the distractions are out of the way, you can make 2016 your year. Let's sit down and do the work. Here's how I'm changing it. Create real, tangible, actionable goals. Let's learn a strategy. Let's sit together. and bounce ideas off one of another, because what you put your attention on grows, leaps and bounds. Oh, and let's drink wine while I do it, because wine always infer. Okay, so here I am telling, like, this is how I'm going to help you change this. You did this, and that's totally fine. I did it too. Let's like get back to work and actually like sit down and do this. Cool. Hold on, let me go back to my sales page formula really quick. Okay, yeah. So tell you how you're changing it, introduce the workshop, tell them who it's for. There you go. So I put like 3 or 4 buttons in here. I would say you at least need 2, just because people sometimes forget you want to make them easy to buy. You want to make it easy to buy, and you want to make it seem organic. So it's like, oh, here's a ticket. Okay, cool. I could get that, but you know what? I want to know a little bit more about this workshop. Okay, here's the date. Cool, awesome. So this is you introducing the workshop. Where it is, what time, where the location is. This is where it was. A little bit more about it. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm in. Like I know where this is, and that feels comfortable, and that I'm free that date. Okay, yeah, I'm ready. I'm already sold. Boom. And this was just a little note about early bird pricing. So you've done that. You've introduced your workshop. Cool. Okay, what we're gonna do. For half the event, we'll discuss our business. For the other half, we'll dive deep into creating actionable goals. After it's over, we'll have quarterly check-in webinars, which I get to do that online. And then I talk about kind of like, I'm not going to speak at you. We're going to actually like do this together. And then I had a nice quote. So again, set expectations about what you're going to do. Who is this event for? Who's going to be there? Creative female entrepreneurs, boss ladies, solopreneurs, business owners, retailers, women who work hard at their craft but need a night surrounded by a group of fellow female entrepreneurs who get it. So that's who's going to be there. And if you're reading this and you're like, ooh, I don't really want to hang out with those people. I'm an artist, or I'm a blah, blah, blah. They know it's not for them. And I think a lot of times people are afraid to turn people off with their live events, but don't do that, because the people that are going to come and show up to this event are going to be the ones that you really, really want to be there. And they're going to be the easiest to teach. So try to be specific in this, who is this event for piece. And then I made some notes about tickets. If you also notice, I have 1, 2, 3 buy buttons, 3 places to get a ticket. And I think this one actually, oh no, it doesn't. Anyway, usually I hyperlink with the image, but I didn't on this one. So 3 places to buy. Like, they can't get away from it. They know how to buy. So again, buy now, like buy, everybody needs to buy. Okay, I'm gonna go back to, sorry, let me switch my screen back to the, hi, now we're gonna go back to our worksheet. And then we're kind of gonna race through these last couple pieces, sales page formula. Okay. Oh man, finding a venue. So this is going to be quick. I actually have another webinar where I talk about like how to really get through your venue. And I know that we're kind of running out of time. So thank you if you're still on for watching. When I find a venue, I'm kind of deep into my community now, but when I first was doing my very first Boss Lady Bash, this is what I did. I literally was like, okay, what business is new? Where do I see construction? Where do I see like coming soon signs? Where do I know of places that are closed? Who do I know that's a brand new store that needs people in their doors? Because here's the dirty secret about retail that people don't often tell you, and retailers don't often tell you, is they want people in their door come heck or high water. Like they want to get people in their door. And if it's a fit, a personality fit, a target market fit, they are like, please come in. The piece for you as the business owner that wants to run this workshop, the piece for you is to be comfortable asking and be comfortable hearing no. I heard no so many times for my first event that I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself. But finally I found one that ended up being gorgeous, and the pictures ended up being gorgeous. So you really, really have to be comfortable with hearing a no to use space for free. And if you're not comfortable with that, there are plenty of free spaces where you can host a workshop. So some examples. So my first venue was a hotel. They didn't even have a conference space. It was just in their lobby, but they were so new. I think they were a week old. That they were like, yeah, sure, you can host a networking event in our lobby for free. We want to get people, And so I had a photographer friend who came and shot it as a sponsor. And she basically was like, yeah, I'll take pictures. And I was like, cool. And so one of the like bonuses for the venue is they were brand new. And I was like, you can have access to all the photos. And they really loved that because they're like, great, we have photos that we can use promotionally and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, So the venues that I brainstormed for me were like new businesses that had just opened. So for me, there was a hotel lobby. I just thought of that like R. Kelly, Nelly song or whatever. That was like the hotel lobby. Anyway, so hotel. I've done it at a furniture store that wanted kind of the creative community in the furniture store. And that was really awesome because I didn't have to rent any furniture. It was so nice. I've done it at a cafe, a breakfast cafe that's only open 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And so we did an evening event there. Bash is a bridal store that wanted people, their brand new bridal store, and they wanted people in their place. Some other venues, a restaurant that open, but they are closed on Mondays. So they came to me and they were like, we'd really love to do an event with you. Another restaurant who was like, we'll do an event with you while we're open because we just want more people in your community in our doors. So those are the people who, after I started building a reputation, people started coming to me. I didn't have to like push as hard. So those are some venues that came to me. Other things that are free, the library. If you have a local library, holy cow. Like it might not be the most ideal place for you to do it. It might not be like the big, huge, bright-eyed workshop, but if you're looking for free to start and to get comfortable teaching in front of people, the library is like your best bet because they usually have a community room. They usually help you promote, put it on their website and things like that. And you might get people that you don't even, in your community that you don't even know. So the library is a really good one. I'm trying to think of other free locations that I have done workshops. Sometimes you can contact a women's group and they already pay to host the event, but they look for speakers. So if you want to do a workshop with a women's group, that might be or men's, it can be whoever your target market is. So these are some ways to find a venue. So I'm going to skip because I know we're a little bit going over time, but brainstorm like places that are brand new, places that maybe are struggling, or maybe some competition opened up in your town or your big city, and they're trying to get more people in the door. If you're in a big city, a lot of people come to me and they're like, well, you live in a small town and people are more community minded. I live in a big city and people don't feel this way. And I'm like, girlfriend, then start going to a coffee shop every single day, getting to know the owner. And in big cities, there's way more competition. So like a coffee shop opens or a furniture store opens or a small bodega or deli or wine store opens, they have like infinitely more competition. And so if you're like, hi, I'm going to bring 10 people into your shop and you have to do zero work. I mean, what do they, if they want to charge you, go somewhere else, because there are plenty of business owners who don't like to do their own marketing. We all know this is true. Plenty of business owners that don't like to do their own marketing. And you're basically like, I will do the marketing for you. So I would say when you're starting out, don't pay for a venue if you can help it. Bars and restaurants can be a little bit trickier, but it just depends on kind of your community and your space. But yeah, think of alternate locations. Okay, we're going to move on to our basic marketing plan, how to get it out there. So one of the things that I started doing was teasing through the social media. I think that's the most helpful, because when people hear about an event one time, they might miss it. They might not really care. They might be in a bad mood. And so you don't want to say like, announcing the workshop that I've never told you about. You want to say like, hey, I'm thinking about creating this, or hey, I'm really excited because I want to do a goal setting workshop. Or, hey, I'm really excited to do a nutritional workshop. If you're a mom, what do you need to know? So start teasing it through social media, maybe through your email list if you have one, maybe through emailing your friends, like email 10 friends and be like, hey, I really want to do this like mom's workshop. Would you be interested in doing it with me? If so, do you have any questions about it? That was how, when I started doing the Boss Lady Bash, I did a lot of like, hey, let's hang out together. How can we hang out together? I want to do a networking event. I just started like teasing it through social media. And I told my group, I have an accountability group. I told my accountability group that I wanted to do it, and they told their friends. So that's kind of called a pre-sale or a pre-launch or creating momentum. It's not a pre-launch or a pre-sale. Sorry, it's creating momentum. And then honestly, this was how I have done every single event. I do a Facebook post. I create a Facebook event. I create a flyer. I don't always print the flyers, but I create one just in case. I haven't called a friend to co-host, but I started doing that. And that is really awesome, because then you guys can kind of join forces and bring both of your communities together. That's a really powerful way to do it. Again, send an email inviting specific people that you'd love to come for free or discounted rate. I did that with my first Boss Lady Bash. I basically said, I need facilitators for how I want to, wrangle this. And so you get to come for half price if you agree to facilitate conversation. And everybody that I asked said yes. And then these two are kind of like during event and after the event. So deliver what you promise. When I planned my first Boss Lady Bash, I basically was like, we're going to have food, we're going to have drinks, it's going to be like a really fun, good time. And then until I sold, like, I didn't even order any of this stuff, but I was like, okay, let's see if anyone buys this. And then people bought it, and I was like, okay, now I have to find a caterer. Now I have to, get some wine. Now I have to, I kind of had to deliver on all of the promises. I couldn't say like, hey, come and have food and then have like crackers. Like, maybe like you don't have to have food, but anyway, so make sure you deliver and make sure you give good value and make sure that you prepare your content. And then again, the last one is get social proof and photos and feedback. That is so important. So to do an event, don't just do it in a vacuum. And then like, if it goes poorly, just like, don't ever mention it again. You can do that. But get social proof. Identify one person that came up to you and was like, this was a really great event, and get them to like give you a little testimonial. Have a friend come and take pictures. Have someone give you, send out a survey at the end. Make sure you're capturing email addresses, send out a survey, get feedback, because that's going to help you for the next time. That's going to help you market for the next time. Cool. So that's my really basic marketing plan. This is like so kind of like light on what I actually do, but these are like the big bullet points. I don't do any Facebook ads for any events that I do, not yet. I might start doing them. But right now, all of the local community stuff is community driven, my own community. And by saying my own community, these are like my friends or people that I reach out to and have coffee dates with. This is not like something that I feel like I've built intentionally. These are just kind of people that well, now it is, but when I was first starting, it was like, here are some friends that I have that might want to do this. So that's my basic marketing plan. And then this last page, this is kind of for you to do on your own. Maybe if you take 10 minutes when you have some quiet time. The fear is such a big part about hosting a workshop. The fear, like we have gone through, like this is exactly how I created my first workshop. And the fear of doing it almost prevented me from doing it. And so I totally understand if this is a scary thing. It can be scary to put, especially a live event, it can be scary to put one out there and nobody shows up. And I'll tell you a quick story. I did a goal setting workshop. My goal setting workshop was a month ago. Oh, not even 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Holy cow. So I did a goal setting workshop. It was 2 weeks ago. I was like, I'm going to sell 25 tickets to this thing, blah, 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 blah. I sold 10. And right before, I basically was on the phone with a friend of mine. I was like, I'm a failure. I should cancel it. Only 10 people signed up, blah, blah, blah. And my friend was like, are you kidding me? She's like, get out there and do this freaking workshop because what do you have to lose? People came, people signed up. Why are you afraid that because you didn't hit your goal, because you didn't say like, you can't say this sold out. Why are you afraid to do this? And I ended up doing it and it was amazing. It was an amazing workshop. It was so fun. So for me, I'm afraid of actually getting out in front of teaching people because I'm afraid that people are going to feel like I'm a fraud. I'm afraid of reaching out to a venue. I still get afraid of reaching out to venues and making big asks because what if they say no? And then the answer to that is like, what if they say no? Then you move on. But like, it's hard to feel rejection, right? So take some time. I know we're super over and we're talking about feelings, but take some time to write those fears down because at least you can identify them and then we can work on moving forward. Okay. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. We're going to be done with screen sharing and I'm going to take some frequently asked questions. So feel free to ask me any questions. I kind of did a brief overview. Oops. I'm going to refresh the chat tango. I did like a brief little overview, but if you guys have any questions, I am happy to stick around and answer any questions that you have about. And you can really ask me anything. If you want to ask about money, if you want to ask about how I decided to price, if you want to ask about my overhead, if you want to ask about how much my events, like feel free to like ask me. I'm happy to be the most open book you want me to be. So feel free, pop it in the chat tango below. If not, we can be done, which is totally fine too. One question I always get is, how do you budget for your event? Which maybe I need to do a budgeting one because people are always like, I don't know, it's going to cost me so much money. Part of me is like, well, what doesn't cost you money when you're doing a marketing effort? The workshop that I just did, the goal setting workshop, that cost me $35. Nope, sorry, I had food and wine. So it cost me under $100. And then if you really don't, I mean, if you don't even really want to provide food and beverage, which I always recommend, but you don't have to, it probably would have cost me $30 because all I did was print out my workbook and give people the workbook. That was it. So they have the potential to be quite lucrative if you know how to do them correctly. But again, it just really depends on what you're comfortable with, the experience you want to create. Another question is, when should I do them? That's really up to your audience. Although for entrepreneurs, I think a lot of times people try to do events during the day with entrepreneurs. And I don't think even with entrepreneurs, people want to take out time from their day to like, go to a workshop. So I think I always do evening events and I get great feedback, but that's again, my community, 25, usually it's women 25 to 40. Some of them have young children, but a lot of times if it's like a special event, they can get childcare, or their spouse can help, or they can do a nanny share or something with someone else who's coming. So I always exclusively do night events just because my community appreciates that better, more than like a luncheon or like a morning workshop. And I even polled my community. I was like, I'm happy to do a 12 to 4 Boss Lady Bash if that's interesting. And resoundingly, people, I think it was like not even, it was like 85% of people were like, no, we want you to do it from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And I was like, okay, after work. Cool. Does anyone have questions? Those are some questions that I always get, but cool. Well, thank you so much for listening. I don't have a pitch today. I'm not going to pitch anything to you, but if you do have questions, feel free to email me, and that's it. I'll probably do these once a month. So if you have questions, or if you want to go on and like have, if you want me to do any specific topics, maybe a budgeting one, I'll do a budgeting one in February, and maybe I'll do a marketing one in March. Just feel free to email me so that I know what you want to hear about. Thanks so much for watching. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to email me with any questions, Lauren@laurencaselli.com. You have my email. It's probably in your email right now. Okay, bye.